Okay, so one of the tasks that Water Sensitive SA has been set with is to develop some tools that can support that transition. So if the policy is adopted tomorrow or next year or whenever that might be, and when I say policy I mean water quality and water quantity targets within development plan policy, what tools will practitioners, development applicants, the consulting engineers need to aid that transition moving forward? Certainly what Mark said puts a bit of a slightly different spin on it for me, but certainly we'll get through that in the question time. So, to bring about the change, we've got our current policy, and in previous presentations you might have seen me talk about building that case and the water cycle cost analysis and the life cycle cost. I'm just going to park that idea. That is a tool that we'll be developing, but it's not the focus of today. But we feel that that's needed to get the argument forward to get the policy change. I'm going to be talking about the green section, the supporting tools. So in particular, if you can read from where you're sitting, an online stormwater management assessment tool and a deemed to comply guideline that will go hand in hand with that. There's opportunities, I feel, that if we clever about how we develop that deemed to comply tool guideline, that really it could dovetail into what Andrew is talking about, the urban design code. So if we can be engaged in that process, it's a perfect opportunity to get meet the needs of you as practitioners embedded into that urban design code. And also, the stormwater assessment tool is really to try and streamline the assessments for those smaller scale developers who are seeming, the feedback we're getting from councils is that they are struggling to meet targets, not only from a just pure performance point of view, but also understanding what is required and delivering appropriate responses. Interesting that Mark was talking about sort of that catchment scale planning. If you have a look at this plan here, this map, this is from the Adelaide Mount Lofty Ranges NRM board, so thanks very much to them. The red hashed area is the stormwater management plan that's been signed off through the Stormwater Management Authority. The blue hashed is areas that are currently having stormwater management plans developed, and the balance, I guess, of the greater Adelaide metro area is yet to have a stormwater management plan initiated for it. What that says to me is if we were relying on a catchment scale, sort of precinct scale solution to drive an offset, we're a bit of a way off yet. And by all means, anyone come up to us afterwards and tell us if you've got a plan that's relevant that's not shown. This doesn't pick up integrated water management plans, so that's only stormwater management plans. Certainly in the peri-urban areas, there'd be a number of councils who are responsible for their wastewater as well, who would have integrated water management plans that do cover off on this. So probably on the other side of the range, there might be some sort of more integrated solutions that could be tapped into. So just reiterating, we're talking about the runoff quality targets as shown, and they've been mentioned before, and the flood management as shown here for the 5-year ARI and 100-year for major flows. I haven't put up the conservation slide, but obviously there is a water conservation target as well, but that's a little less prescriptive. Why isn't that working? Okay, so in terms of this, like the simple development, which is this infill that we're talking about, moving forward, we can look at developing an offset program, and really, if there is an existing stormwater management plan or integrated water management plan subject to the area, you would say, okay, do we just contribute straight to an offset like Mark has shown that their community does, or is there an option that you might do a minimum on-site, and that might be some sort of rainwater harvesting to deal with flow management, and then have a partial off-site solution? So maybe there needs to be a bit of flexibility, have a bit of a combination of the two. I know that you're saying, and this is the bit that I'd like to have discussion about, your drivers are water quality, but certainly from Water Sensitive SA's point of view, we're looking for these to take care of water quality and quantity. So when we talk about offset, it's the harvesting the excess stormwater as well. And correct me if I'm wrong later, Mark. And then certainly if there's no plan, then you might just, the the developer might just go to an on-site solution because it might be the short-term easiest one for a small site, even though the economies of scale are definitely worse. And then that's where we would propose to develop the online tool to deal with those sort of situations. So that's where it's a simple assessment process where you could optimise your area of imperviousness, your rainwater storage, potentially rain gardens, or minimising your areas of imperviousness. So for the example that's shown here, this is from Victoria. They've just solved it by putting in an 18,000 litre tank, but quite possibly they could have achieved that with a 10,000 litre tank and a rain garden, some sort of combination. So this is where the discussion will get interesting about whether that's going to be a solution that we want on site. Might be rain garden in the front yard of your development. If there's nowhere for it, there's no deemed offset project to contribute to. But then if there is an offset program to contribute to, it might be that it's a wetland way downstream, or it might be that the developer's just contributing to some sort of swale system in the streetscape, or a small bioretention system in the verge. So that's the sort of things that we need to thrash out. What is the offset system? In some council areas, they will have the space to do what Mark's doing, and maybe we all do that if we think a bit more innovatively and we look at how multiple use of our open space. But these are the sorts of issues that we need to thrash out. And then looking forward to the more large scale, like the greenfield councils, looking at developing music guidelines for SA. So in a more complex area, obviously, if we're hopeful that you would have an integrated water management plan or a stormwater management plan for that growth area. May or may not be the case, but a lot of them we hope would. And then if you don't have one, you'd obviously prepare your stormwater management plan for that greenfield site in accordance with the WSID policy when it gets up. And then with the music guidelines, Goyder have done some work in looking at what sort of input parameters are suitable for Adelaide's conditions, and I know that report might be available sometime in the near future, Baden, yeah. So that could inform that guideline. We've also had preliminary discussions with eWater who manage the music tool, and for those who don't know what music is, it's a tool to assess your proposed development compared with a conventional development and see if you can meet the pollutant reduction target. So it's saying, will the treatment train that you put in place meet those targets that we spoke about? So what happens with the music E-Link? City of Onkaparinga is the only council in South Australia who have such a program, such a facility, and what that is that has an agreed set of parameters that council have signed off on, that any developer that does work in the area can download those parameters and therefore use them in the modelling, so there's consistency, and also it'll increase efficiency in terms of the developer's time, their consultants' time to prepare an assessment, and also in terms of the council's time to assess it, because it'll be more transparent what's going in and what's going out. Certainly, there's opportunity for us to develop that wider throughout Greater Adelaide, and they seem to be open to giving a better rate if we can get more councils on. Obviously, the council's paying $5,000 a year for that service. Is that right, Jude? Yeah. So certainly, we can broaden that, and that's where we can get some of the efficiencies for the greenfield developers, and hopefully, again, this could be part of the, I suppose, the incentive to move towards better water quality and water quantity targets, is that we can improve the efficiency of the development approval process. So just in closing, what we're looking for is flexibility. People, they may choose to do it on site, they may not want to do it off site, but at least let's give them the choice, so that when the policy comes in, when we say mandate, there could be this perception that yes, you have to do it on site, and that's part of the mandate. We just want to make it very clear in the communication. That's not what mandate means. It means that flexibility to do on or off site. Consistency, obviously, all the councils in Adelaide and Greater Adelaide, given that there is no mainstream policy that's adopted, there is inconsistencies in how they're dealing with them, and if we could get some more consistencies, that would certainly help each council in their negotiations with developers, and also help the development industry as well. And certainly, as I've mentioned before, efficiencies in the application process. I think that's going to be key to us selling this moving forward, because if we can get developments assessed in a shorter time frame, that can only represent savings to the developer. And as long as we get the outcomes on the ground, that's what we're looking for. Thank you.